I'd like to talk about the history of business models. If we look back through human history at the legal entities that became businesses, particularly in the last 150 to 200 years, for much of that time, the companies were attending to all of the stakeholders, employees, the communities that they were operating in, and their suppliers. There was a whole systems thinking because the leaders lived in the community. They lived next door to their customers, employees, and their suppliers. It was not until the 1970s, when Milton Friedman came out with his statement that the purpose of business is to make money, that we've witnessed the shift over the past several decades, particularly here in the US. Companies seem to have lost their way as they went from being stakeholder-focused to shareholder-focused. It's been all about the bottom line, all about profitability. Starting in the late 1970s, but especially in the 1980s, companies started moving away from a cradle-to-grave mindset about how they thought about their employees to a transactional relationship with their employees, resulting in tremendous downsizing. Although there were a lot of reasons for this shift, including technological advances and the macroeconomic environment, ultimately employers were actively thinking about their relationship with their employees in a different way. And so we ended up in the place we are now. Seemingly the only thing that matters to companies is profitability as measured on a quarter-to-quarter basis. It's made it incredibly challenging for leaders who really care, who are trying to take a long-term view. They're spending their energy and time fighting against institutional investors, analysts, Wall Street, and in some cases their board. But there's also the reality that an organization gets the shareholders they deserve. In response to this shift from stakeholder to shareholder, we've seen the enactment in 37 states of legislation enabling benefit corporations, allowing companies the legal protection to take a stakeholder approach to governance. We're seeing more and more companies pursuing the conscious company path, where they're recognizing that they need to be thinking about more than just the bottom line and thinking long term. In the US, there are about 1,700 B Corps now, and that number is growing. We're seeing leaders opting out of organizations that are focused on just the bottom line. CEO tenure is shrinking considerably because more and more CEOs are saying, it's not worth it to me to sell my soul and get a large paycheck and have no personal life, and to be focused just on driving profitability at the expense of all my stakeholders. This trend in B Corps is likely an interim step to something different, but the future is a bit too murky to predict what will emerge.